What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. Dustin back on the show. What's up, Dustin?
What's up, man?
Good to have you on. We just watched the national championship game last night as Kansas took down North Carolina 72 to 69. First, let's talk about, going into even the Final Four. We talked about it in our first episode. I think we both felt like Kansas was one of the strongest teams going into the tournament, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were a contender. It was going to take a really good team, a really good performance to knock them out. Plus, they got the benefit of things kind of breaking their way with playing, you could say, playing Miami in the Elite Eight and playing an 8 seed North Carolina. But how do you think North Carolina played? I think they were, underseeded and gave Kansas a hell of a fight. I mean, Kansas had to break the championship game record to come back and win that game.
Absolutely. It was a good game. UNC surprised me because they had a couple of rough losses early in the season.
Yeah.
Were they underseeded? I agree. Just as many as a lot of these teams were.
Yeah, absolutely. But you could see them coming on towards the end and beating Duke the way they did in the final game at Cameron Indoor, I believe is what it's called. That's a big win. And then, how about North Carolina ending Coach K's last home game with a loss and then ending his career in the Final Four with a loss in the first ever Duke North Carolina Final Four matchup?
Yeah, that has to be a very bad taste in the mouth of Coach K.
I said it at the time. How can Coach K retire after that? He can't. Coach K has got to come back for another year, man. You can't go out like that to your rival.
I agree, but unfortunately, I think Coach K's done.
I think so too, but man, if I were Coach K, I'd be coming back. I'd be like, all right, screw it, guys. If Tom Brady can change his mind, so can I. And I'd be coming back for another year. Because losing in the Final Four, one game away from the national championship, his goal was to go out with a championship. And
Absolutely.
come back one more year, maybe you can. You know what I mean?
Do you think Duke would have took him back?
Yeah, absolutely. Duke's not gonna. Everything about Duke is Coach K. They're not gonna not bring him back if he wants to come back. So I don't know, but you know who surprised me on North Carolina? I mean, they got a lot of good players. I like Puff Johnson, Caleb Love, I believe, is the point guard, but Armando Baycott, the center, that dude's a monster. I think he could translate to the pro game pretty well.
Yeah, he's a great player.
He reminds me of Boogie Cousins a little bit. And there was people tweeting last night saying that he's a throwback, like he could play in the '90s, with or against the Bad Boys Pistons or those Knicks teams. And I think that's what kind of hurt North Carolina in the national championship game. Is they started becoming too guard dependent and taking too many long threes. And instead of dumping it down to Baycott the way they were in the first half, he's too big and too physical for Kansas to stop him. And on both sides of the ball, I mean, defensively, he was a great, rim protector as well.
Yeah, and North Carolina is exactly like a great example of a team who can get hot at the right moment.
Yeah. You can't sleep on a team like North Carolina, even when they're ranked high, ranked low, or I should say. You can't be like, this team's not as good this year, because they'll find a way, and they've got that proven winning history.
And yeah, hats off to Hubert Davis for stepping in for Roy Williams and keeping North Carolina relevant.
Yeah, he did a great job. I've always been a Hubert Davis fan. Going back to those Knicks teams that he played on, going back to his days in college, I always respected the hell out of Hubert Davis, and he did a great job coaching. Um, Bill Self for Kansas wins another championship. How many is that now for Bill Self?
I believe at Kansas, I believe that's 2.
Just 2?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot more. That team is a contender every year, man.
They haven't won since 2008, though.
I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, only 2 championships. And yeah, since 2008, and that was his first time. Man, I would, just off the top of my head, I would guess like 4 or 5. So,
Which is crazy because, in my opinion, next to Duke, he had some of the best players that are currently playing today in the NBA, and he's had stacked squads over the years.
yeah, he has. You go back to, was it Andrew Wiggins at Kansas?
Yep, Mario Chalmers.
Yep. Paul Pierce going way back in the day. A lot of big name players. I believe the Morris brothers came out of Kansas, Markeith and Marcus
Robinson. What's his name?
Yeah. I forget.
He didn't have much success in the NBA, but boy, was he a good college player.
Yeah, Thomas Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Ben McLemore.
yep. I would keep going old school. I'm trying to bring up names like Kirk Heinrich. But yeah, they've always recruited really well and been tough to beat. And so credit to Kansas for getting the dub, bringing home the national championship. Let's look at this bracket. I mean, who are the best stories of this bracket? Kansas wins it. North Carolina, I'm always going to root for the underdog. So I love it to see an 8 seed go to the national championship. Nothing can make me happier. I hate it when it's 2 1 seeds battling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if he would have pulled it off though? That's got to be history, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it should have been history. And they were so much in control of that game at halftime that Kansas had to make history to pull it off. And they really did. And they turned it around so quick that they were up 6. And North Carolina even battled back to tie that, but just couldn't make the final scores in the end. Baycott turning his ankle like that at the end really sucked. But looking at these runs, I mean, Texas Tech and Arkansas go on some good runs, 4 and 3 seed, but Duke wins that. I mean, Gonzaga, that was your big loss, Gonzaga going down to Arkansas. Do you think Gonzaga can turn it around and go and finally get a championship there?
You know what, man? For one, that was 3 times in a row that I voted for Gonzaga to win it all,
Yeah.
and 3 times they've lost. So, you know what? I just don't think that Mark Few is good enough to coach in the tournament.
I don't know if it's Mark Few. It's got to be something though.
Or I mean, it could be, maybe it's time for Gonzaga to move out of the West Coast Conference and start playing with the big boys.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before. I mean, they've never won it, right? They've never won a national championship.
And they've had teams to do it, very talented teams.
Yeah, I mean, 2017 and 2021, they were the runner-up. 2019, they were in the Elite Eight. 2022, Sweet 16. So they've had the talent. I agree with you. They've had the guys to do it. I think we're on the right path. That maybe they should consider leaving that conference, going and playing somewhere with tougher competition, Because for whatever reason, they get into the tournament and come up short time and time again. I mean, Baylor went down early to North Carolina. That doesn't look near as bad now with the fact that North Carolina went to the national championship game, but still very disappointing for Baylor trying to repeat.
Yeah, that game took me by surprise because I had thought that Baylor would have won that game just because, Baylor to me was one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, they were. They were talented, and North Carolina just, beat them up that game. And then, I mean, the story of the tournament is St. Mary's going to the Elite Eight at the 15 seed. How impressed were you with that run? Not only knocking off the 2 seed Kentucky, but 3 seed Purdue as well on the way.
Yeah, you mean St. Peter's?
Yeah, is that if I said it wrong? Yeah, St. Peter's at 15 seed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive, and because of how far they went, their coach got a major D1 coaching job. So congratulations to him, and good job by St. Peter's for shocking the world.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at Seton Hall. Now with his new job. Because that, good job on him. Do you think he should have stayed after that run? I mean, we did talk about how poor St. Peter's is, so maybe he used the opportunity to go to a real, school. But do you think
Well,
that's part of it? And do you think this run can help provide St. Peter's with some more money to put into the basketball program?
it definitely should. And as far as the coach, I mean, I don't think it was, so much as being the broke decision. I just think that he took the better opportunity and wanted to advance, and make more money and just be able to recruit better kids.
Yeah, move up the ranks. I mean, I bet this guy Shaheen Holloway is his name. I bet he's got aspirations to coach at a big time program and win a national championship. I
And
don't think it's even possible to really win a national championship at St. Peter's, but Seton Hall is a stepping stone, and maybe eventually you get into somewhere like Maryland or Purdue or somewhere like that where you have a shot.
yeah, so also St. Peter's, their 3 best players just entered the NCAA transfer portal today.
Man, they're all going to Seton Hall, I bet.
And yeah, I just see it as like, he took his opportunity, like you said, to climb up the ladder, and anybody in the right mind would do that. And I'm sure St. Peter's thanked him along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's everyone's always trying to move up the ladder, and coach a better job and a better and better job and progress. Um, Arizona, Houston. So I was disappointed in the fact that I should have picked Houston to beat Arizona, but I didn't have the balls to do it. I liked Houston going into the tournament, but I thought Arizona was damn good, just like you did. And then I was disappointed that Houston beats Arizona, but then can't beat Villanova. I would have really liked to see Houston in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona was big, man. They had size, and size wins a lot of basketball games in college.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. There was a reason they were the favorite because they recruited very well and they definitely had the talent to do it.
Arizona has always recruited well, with DeAndre Ayton and many others. And it's just these teams that recruit well just don't seem to either bring it, or they underestimate teams that have 3-star, 2-star players.
Yeah. I guess I think I was rooting against Villanova almost every game of the tournament. I don't know why. That's just how it fell. I wanted Ohio State to win because I wanted Ohio State, Michigan. That would have been a hell of a game. And I wanted Houston to win. But, I don't know. I guess I wasn't a big Villanova fan.
Yeah, but Houston blew that game themselves.
Yeah.
When you
Inability
shoot
to score, put the ball in the basket pretty much.
when you shoot like what was it, one for 20 or 1 for 25 behind the 3-point line, you're not gonna win
Yeah.
no ball game.
Well, you got to adjust. You can't keep firing from back there. If you're not hitting the shots, you got to attack the rim, get to the free throw line, get to the paint. And credit to Villanova, I think they played some pretty good defense on them too.
Yeah, and that's on the coach. He needs to call a timeout and tell his players, let's regroup and take smarter shots.
Did you notice that throughout the tournament? And I've noticed it in the NBA as well. Some questionable coaching. I know we're super critical of coaching, whether it be the NFL, college football, at every level in sports. We like to criticize coaching. But did you notice that in the tournament? Like, there could have been better coaching, better managed timeouts to stop these, teams going on these big runs and stuff like that, and better in-game adjustments.
Absolutely. I mean, we can use Notre Dame for example. Like Mike Bray just kept playing the same defense after a team would go on a 10-2 run or a 12-4 run, and then he'd come out of half and play the same defense. It's like, dude, switch it up or something.
Yeah, and it's a tough, it's a judgment call, because it's like you live and die by what you've done all season long, and what's gotten you to that point, or you adjust you adjust to what the other team's doing, and force them to beat you in a different way. And so it's a tough call. And I think at the end of the day, coaches get blamed no matter what. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I would like to see more adjustments and better timeout management for sure.
Yeah, and see, one thing I noticed, Alex, is if you didn't notice, but this year in NCAA basketball, there seems to be a lot of great defensive basketball teams.
Yeah, I loved it. For a guy that likes, I've complained about the NBA game playing no defense at all for a while. You've heard me, a lot of people have heard me say it. Now that we're getting to the playoffs, you're going to see the NBA defense ramp up, and I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to watching that. In this tournament, I agree 100%. We saw a great defensive play throughout the tournament, and not just defensive play, it was great hustle and effort,
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those defensive teams was the team that you picked to go to win the national championship in Texas Tech. Man, I thought they had great defense.
Yeah, they were scrappy. They were a great defense. Very fun to watch. They reminded me a little bit. Part of the reason I love defensive basketball so much is the Tom Thibodeau Chicago Bulls. When their number one star, Derrick Rose, goes down, for back-to-back seasons, is out with knee injuries. And he had that team scrapping and just playing defense with no star. Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, Luol Deng, and just battling out there,
Yeah.
I love that kind of basketball. The biggest loss that I don't think anybody saw coming was Iowa losing the first game of this to Richmond. How about that, man?
Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what, that completely, them and Gonzaga completely ruined my bracket. After that, I was like, yeah, who really cares?
Yeah. For me, I had some losses like that. Who was the one that really ruined mine? I mean, I picked a lot of upsets, so it really screwed me over. I mean, I had Loyola going to the Sweet 16.
Okay, so let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
So, I'm concerned about the program of Kentucky. I really think that John Calipari has taken a step back.
Well, I think it could be time to move on from John Calipari. Get some fresh blood in there. Kentucky is always going to recruit at an elite level. Kentucky is a blue blood, a lot of the basketball players from the SEC want to go to Kentucky. So get a fresh face in there, spark something up in them because it could be at a point where, Calipari's just losing his touch a little bit. And even Calipari, he doesn't last at one spot forever. He seems to bounce around a lot in his career. Maybe Calipari, it'd be good for him to go start somewhere fresh. Maybe try out the NBA again, or maybe go to a different college.
Yeah, I agree. Because he hasn't really done anything since, man, I'd have to say, Anthony Davis and them were there.
Yeah, and if you think about it, a lot of Calipari's kids are in the NBA. I would try it again. If I'm Coach Cal, and especially in today's NBA, I think his style could work now more than ever. If I were him, I'd look at going back to the NBA.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's probably going to be a big opening at the end of the season for one of the biggest sports teams in the NBA, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. So
yeah, if you could go right now and go to the Lakers, I don't know if I'd take that job because they're kind of a mess. But the opportunity and the spotlight, and they're gonna make moves to bring in talent. That's not a bad destination, and you coach your former player in Anthony Davis.
Yep.
Let's get on that rumor right now. Coach Cal to the Lakers. We'll start that rumor.
I was gonna. Okay, so mine was actually a hot take, and I said it last time we were on here, but I honestly think it's possible. Coach K's done with college basketball. Okay, if
Yeah.
Coach K got offered by the Los Angeles Lakers or the New York Knicks or anybody with an NBA coaching job that's a big time franchise, I think he takes it.
Yeah. I like what you're thinking. I agree. I don't think he's done coaching, but I'm gonna say this: he's not leaving. I got Coach K coming back. He's pulling a Tom Brady. He'll be back for 2022 or 2023. I mean,
but Duke already has their other head coach in place.
he's the assistant though. He'll go back to. He can be an assistant for another year. I'm telling you. It's all set up to move on from Coach K. But if Coach K calls Duke and says, "Hey, you know what? I want to come back for another year," Duke will move everything around and bring him back in a heartbeat.
You really think so, huh?
Oh yeah, he's Coach K. So, anyways, this was fun. What grade would you give this tournament?
Like, what do you mean? As in, like shocking or
no, like 1 to 10. How good was this tournament this year?
I'm gonna give it a 7 just because of the fact that we had St. Peter's in the Cinderella, but it was also not a good look for 3 number 1 seeds either. So,
Oh, I loved it. I'm gonna go 9. I loved everything about this tournament. I loved that an 8 seed was in the national championship game. I loved the North Carolina Duke matchup in the Final Four, something we've never seen before. It was so much fun seeing Coach K go down because a lot of people were like, it's the people that tell you that sports is rigged. Were the people saying it's all rigged for Duke and Coach K to win the national championship and ride off into the sunset. Those are those people. And I love it when they're proven wrong. And they get proven wrong a lot. People are, oh, sports is rigged, And it was nice to see. It's refreshing when North Carolina, an 8 seed, beats Duke, goes to the national championship, almost won it all. I thought it was a great national championship game. I thought the Final Four was great, and I thought the bracket as a whole was great. St. Peter's going on that run, a lot of upsets. I thought it was a blast. If I could have, had two teams go further, it would have been Houston and Texas Tech. It would have been nice to see Gonzaga go deeper in the tournament, But my favorite game of the tournament, Duke North Carolina Final Four. That game itself made the tournament for me.
Okay, so what I want to say is, it is good when an HC makes it to national championship, because it proves that, anything is possible, and it's always good to, see a number one team go down. But I also just think that, these top teams were overrated.
I don't think they're overrated. What's the big thing we talk about at March Madness? It's not a best of 7 series like the NBA. So you get a lot more upsets. It's any given night. Any game, the better team can play poorly and get upset. It can happen to anybody,
Yeah, I agree, but I just feel like, if you look at the talent that these guys had, there's just no way that, I mean, especially Purdue losing to St. Peter's. I mean, come on now. Purdue has at least 2 or 3 players in their lineup that have the NBA capability. How many did St. Peter's have? Probably
Yeah,
0.
well, and so you might have the classic case of Purdue overlooking St. Peter's, being like, yeah, they beat Kentucky, yeah, they beat Murray State. We're Purdue, we're gonna run through them. We just beat Texas, you know. We're Purdue, we're looking ahead to possibly a Final Four run, especially with North Carolina advancing. And Purdue North Carolina would have been a great game, but you got to win the games, and that's what makes. I mean, nobody predicted. I don't think hardly anybody predicted St. Peter's to beat Purdue. So I like it when shit happens that no one can predict, because it just shows you how cool it is.
So, in your opinion, you think that basketball and sports in general is better when the team that nobody picks wins the game?
Yes, I love it when there's an 8 seed, a 10 seed, an 11 seed go on a deep run. I love picking 13, 14 seeds to go to the Sweet 16, go on a run, win back-to-back games that no one predicted they would have. I love, even if it's national championship, 8 seed, it hardly ever happens, but I loved it. But I like seeing a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6 get into the national championship. I hate it when the Final Four is all ones or the national championship game is all ones. I like chaos.
That's how I feel about college football.
Yeah, I'm the same way with college football. I'm not weighing all sports. If you remember me predicting the NFL playoffs, I had a lot of upsets in that as well.
Yes.
You're like, yes, I remember that. But all right, well, sounds good. I mean, great tournament, a lot of fun. Kansas wins it, and I think we should make this a yearly thing where we do a couple episodes on the tournament, watch it closely. Our subscribers and our listeners seem to like it, so we'll keep these coming out.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me on there.
Yeah, and if you guys like college sports, we're determined we're going to try and do multiple college football episodes this year. Follow along more closely. Dustin's a huge Notre Dame fan. I'm a Michigan State fan. And go to a lot of the games and cover the college football season a lot more closely this year. So thanks, Dustin. Good shit as always. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to subscribe. Let us know what you think. And have a great week, guys. Peace out.